Coming up on FYI, struggling in the water, tips for staying safe, how London theatres are making top shows more affordable for families, and the special nature trail helping people cope with upsetting events in their lives. But first, last week we reported on the shocking news of a knife attack at a summer dance class in the English town of Southport, which tragically resulted in the death of 3 girls. Several others were injured. Sadly, some people have used the tragedy as an excuse to cause more violence around the country. False information about the attacker was quickly spread online. He was incorrectly labelled a Muslim immigrant, and claims like this seemed to spark violence by a group of people with extreme views on immigration. Many of the rioters support what's called the far right, which is against people settling in Britain if they weren't born here. The first riot started in Southport, where a mosque was targeted, shops were broken into, police were injured, and their cars were set on fire. The riots have spread across the country, with the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, holding emergency meetings with the police to discuss how to tackle the violence, which he condemns as racism.
This is not protest. It is organised, violent thuggery, and it has no place on our streets or online. To those who feel targeted because of the colour of your skin or your faith, I know how frightening this must be. I want you to know that this violent mob do not represent our country, and we will bring them to justice.
Residents who have witnessed the violence on their streets have been coming together to clear up the mess caused by the rioters. And as well as the Prime Minister, many others have spoken out about how the views of this small group of people are not what the majority of the British public believe. We heard from Dr. Krish Kandaya, who runs a charity that helps refugees who have fled danger or war in their countries and are now living in the UK.
I'm so sorry if you or your family are feeling nervous, unsettled, or even frightened by the violence that's been taking place around the UK. This is a small group of people that have been whipped up by misinformation they've read online to cause chaos and violence, particularly against people who have moved to the UK. They might have moved to the UK generations ago, like my family, or they might have come more recently. They are often targeting people based on the colour of their skin, and that's called racism, and we have to oppose that. But they're also blaming migration for some of the problems that our country is facing right now, whether that's a lack of housing, whether it's long NHS waiting lists, or whether it's just the cost of living crisis. And that's really unfair to blame this group when actually everybody from all sorts of backgrounds across the UK are facing the same struggles. But it's an age-old approach to blame people that look different to others. On top of focusing on migrants, they've actually focused specifically on asylum seekers, and some of the hotels that have been used for asylum seekers have been targeted. One was set on fire recently. It must have been terrifying to have to leave your country because of war or terror and move to the UK to find safety, and then find an angry mob trying to burn your hotel down. I think we need to take comfort that the police really are cracking down on these organised gangs of criminals, and they are prosecuting them, and pretty soon I'm sure peace and order will be restored. But in the meantime, as you have opportunity, I think the best way that we fight this kind of hatred is with hospitality and kindness.
Well, during the week, thousands of people have been doing just that. Counter-protesters who hugely outnumbered the rioters took to the streets to show their support for migrant families and refugees, and that racism won't be tolerated in their communities. Now, the Olympic Games in Paris come to a close this weekend, and as athletes travel back home, we read interesting reports about some of the prizes countries are awarding their medal winners. But we weren't sure about this one story. See what you think. Apparently, gymnast Carlos Yulo, who is bringing back 2 gold medals for the Philippines, will be awarded with cash, a lifetime supply of food from various restaurants, and even a house. But is that fake news or fact? Find out later in the show. It's the summer holidays, so lots of us will be going to the beach and braving a swim. Every year though, people end up in difficulty in water and can sadly drown. In the UK last year, there were 236 accidental drownings. But the Royal National Lifeboat Institution wants to prevent these tragic deaths by teaching us all how to stay safe in the water. Here's Iara with more info.
The RNLI, or Royal National Lifeboat Institution, is the charity that saves lives at sea. It is run by volunteers and provides a 24-hour search and rescue service around all of our coasts. The RNLI runs over 238 lifeboat stations across the UK and saves hundreds of lives every year. It was started in 1824, meaning this is its 200th anniversary. Since then, its lifeboat crews and lifeguards have saved over 142,700 lives. As well as coming to the aid of people in emergencies, the RNLI also work hard to help us stay safe when we're in or near water. And now we're about to dive into a lesson to see just how they do it. We headed to a shallow water sandbank off the coast of Portsmouth for our lesson.
If we look around, what kind of dangers might we be able to spot here? Deep water, yeah, we don't know what the water is, but Hannah there, that's actually really, really deep.
Swim safe lessons are organised in the summer months across the UK. These lessons are for 7 to 14-year-olds and aim to give us practical skills necessary for when swimming in open water, like the beach. I got chatting to RNLI's water safety expert James, who gave me some life-saving tips. What should we look out for before we get into the water?
So we want you to always go to a life-guarded beach first of all, and when you go to the beach there will be some flags on the beach and that will show you the safest place to go in the water. So red and yellow flags, that is the safest place for going into the water. If there is a red flag, a solid red flag, that means stay out of the water completely.
So what do we do if we get into trouble?
So we want people to know to float on their back if they're in trouble in the water. So in a starfish shape, so your arms and legs nice and wide, your head tilted back so your ears are submerged, your chest is out of the water, and then you can make your decision about what you want to do next. So it might be that you raise your arm and call for help, or it might be that you can swim to the nearest place to look after yourself. But we want people to remember that float to live position.
And if, for example, your friend was in the water and they needed help, would it be safe for you to go in?
So, no. We never want somebody else to go into the water after somebody else to try and save them. We don't want two people in the water. Keep your eyes on the person in the water, call 999, and then the emergency services will be able to bring the lifeguards or the lifeboats or the Coast Guard as quick as they can.
And remember, if you're going swimming without a parent or guardian, always make sure you get their permission and tell them your plans. I've had so much fun today learning new skills that might just save a life. And just remember, if in doubt, just float. It's as simple as that. Bye!
An island near Plymouth that is said to be haunted by 15 ghosts is up for sale. Drake Island was used as a military base for hundreds of years. And according to the current owner, the 15 ghosts are all former military men. He reassures any new owner thinking of buying the island that they're nice ghosts. The UK is host to some of the biggest theatre shows in the world, often with huge ticket prices to match. But we heard about this summer scheme called Kids Week, aiming to help more families visit the theatre. As the title suggests, it used to run for only a week, but was so popular it's now available over the entire summer. Here's Scarlett with more info.
When I think about London and all it has to offer, I usually think of this. I'm talking about the glitz and glam of the West End, home to some of the world's finest musicals and theatre productions. Whilst having a day out at the theatre can leave you feeling all cultured and cool, it can also come with quite a hefty price tag. The increasing price of theatre tickets has been making the news recently, with some reports claiming prices for the very top shows have gone up as much as 50% in a year. Wow! Luckily, this summer there's some help at hand.
Kids Week is back. It's an initiative that was set up by the Society of London Theatre. Throughout summer, children aged 17 and under can experience some of London's best shows for free.
One of the shows that's involved is the hit musical Fantastically Great Women Who Changed the World, adapted from the award-winning book. The show is all about showcasing incredible women throughout history and the amazing things they've achieved. I'm on my way to the Other Palace Theatre to speak with the author of Fantastically Great Women Who Changed the World, Kate Pankhurst. Now, you might be wondering why that name sounds so familiar. It's because she's actually a descendant of Emmeline Pankhurst, one of the most influential figures in the suffragette movement, who fought for women's right to vote more than 100 years ago. So before we go any further, I have to ask about your last name. How are you related to Emmeline Pankhurst?
Emmeline is, you have to kind of count it on your fingers, my great-great-granddad's brother's son's wife.
Great-great-granddad's brother's son's wife.
Yes.
So can you just run through some of the women that you've written about that you find most inspirational?
Yes. So some of my favourites are Mary Seacole, the Jamaican battlefield nurse, Marie Curie, the female scientist who won not one but 2 Nobel Prizes. Mary Anning, paleontologist, dug up dinosaur skeletons in Lyme Regis, and she studied them and learnt all about these prehistoric creatures. What I wanted to get across in the book was to kind of share the information about these women's lives with a younger audience, but in a way that's fun and accessible and gets the facts across in an engaging way.
As an author, what's it like to see the book that you wrote go from the page to the stage?
To have the book adapted by such a talented team of women have made this show. I don't think I've got over the excitement of that happening, to be honest.
I know that the show's participating in Kids Week, so can you tell me what the importance of that is?
Yeah, I think we were really keen to get involved with that. So Kids Week just makes it more affordable and more accessible for younger audiences to come along and see some of the biggest shows that are on in London over the summer and see all these fantastic stories and kind of be able to come to the theatre and bring it within reach of more people, which is what you want, definitely.
This next report is a really special one. I went to visit a new, unique nature trail which is celebrating nature's life cycles and helping young people cope with upsetting events in their lives. Walking in nature, you can see the plants growing, and then at some point, they go back to the earth, making room for new life. It's like a big circle of life, showing us how everything is connected and that life changes. I'm here in the grounds of Dorothy House Hospice Care near Bath, and there is so much nature here. They've opened a unique nature trail to the public, which they hope will reduce people's anxiety about death. A hospice is a place where people who are very sick or nearing the end of their lives can receive care and support. They're designed to be peaceful, and patients are made to feel as comfortable and pain-free as possible. Hospices also help their families. Joining me on the trail today is Lucy. Her dad Kevin had cancer and came to stay in the hospice during his final days. So what would you say is your favourite part of the ground?
My favourite area would probably be the fireflies, because each one is dedicated to a different person who have died here. So last February my dad died here, and when they put in the new fireflies, one's dedicated to him. So it's really nice to just be alone in the woods and be able to grieve him.
How has the hospice helped you personally?
They did so much. I mean, before he even died, we spent hours in craft rooms making different bowls, plates, and it's nice to just be able to look at them and remember everything we did together. And then after he died, I was still receiving counselling, but then I also got offered to go to teen groups. It's just nice to be able to have someone to talk to who is there to know what I'm going through.
Did people want to talk about your dad and what you've been through?
Most people were very hesitant. They didn't want to make me upset or bring up something when they thought it might trigger me.
I'm here with Julia Davidson, who is Lucy's counsellor. So how important is it that we know how to talk about death?
It is really, really important, especially for younger people, to have been exposed to the kind of language we use around death. There are lots of things that you probably shouldn't be saying, such as, oh, it will get easier, or you need to stay strong now, you'll be fine. Those sort of things are really not very helpful, but saying, look, I'm really sorry. What do you need? You know, do you want to talk about it? Everybody deals with it differently, and that's why it's so important to continue talking to them and sort of finding out where they're at with their emotions.
So we're finishing our walk under this amazing tree. Isn't it weird that, like, trees live longer than us?
I know, like, these have been around for hundreds of years.
Trees are often associated with the memory of loved ones. Although they cannot be seen, we know they are still there. With your dad's death, do you believe that?
Yeah, I mean, they're not here, but they're still with us.
Yeah, it feels like that because you have all these memories of them,
Yeah.
so it feels like, you know, they're still there with you.
Yeah, for you, they're still there.
Yeah.
They're still in your everyday life.
If you were affected by this film, then you can head to our website where you'll find some helpful links. first.news/FYI. So did you guess this week's fake news or fact? Well, it's fact. The gold medal winner gymnast Carlos Yulo will be returning to the Philippines to be greeted with thousands of dollars, a new house, and a lifetime supply of food, including mac and cheese, ramen, and grilled chicken, all courtesy of the Filipino government and other sponsors. Well, that's about it from us this week, but we want to say a big congratulations to Scarlett. She won an International Young Artist Academy Award in the USA as Best Presenter on an FYI Investigate special about Ukraine's children of war. You can watch it on our website at first.news/FYI, along with loads more news stories that matter to you. But for now, see you next week.